Vi first pick. I mean, or rather the Xayah first pick, not the Vi. So this is going to give EDG Xayah plus Rakan. So OMG must be coming into this with a plan, because obviously the Featherstorm can be used to counter out the engage from this Vi. So let's see, because this I'm anticipating a straight up 2v2 lock-in here now for A1 for Ppgod. It just depends on what it's going to be, right? Aphelios, Nautilus, Zeri, Nautilus as well, right? How hard though do you really want to dip an index into dive when the Xayah's already on the table, and you could run into an Annie as well at R3 instead of a jungle pick? Jiejie's already shown that he's kind of happy to have his champion pool trimmed out, and there's no jungle bans right now currently, so he's always going to land on something good. The Nautilus is there if they want it now, paired up with this Aphelios. It'll be good for the lane. You just have to wonder how the execution will fall through for the remainder of the game. And I mean, for OMG, their mid to late game generally has been much stronger.
Oh yeah, for sure. And look, the Aphelios, massive ban against OMG for the majority of the playoffs, because in the regular season, he played 13 times, won 9 games, lost 4, pretty high win rate. And then when he got it in the playoffs, he played 2 games of it so far in the playoffs. He's won both of those games with like exceptional KDAs on it as well, like something ridiculous. But I think his KDA on those 2 games is like 21 combined or something ridiculous. I think he's died once or something. So absolutely monstrous performance coming out from Abel on this champion. It's why we see it banned away so often. Allah going towards the Jack, saying, look, we're happy for FoFo to go into whatever he wants in this matchup. I will say FoFo still hasn't even brought out the Azir yet, something that he is very, very prolific on. And now EDG can start to give Allah back some of that agency, something that we haven't really seen OMG give over to Shanji.
Yep, exactly. So let's see what the options are going to be for OMG in the top lane department. I think for now, for the bans, 2 options, mid or jungle. You can technically leave you one at both, right? If you want to remove away something like Lissandra, maybe. Could be a good idea. Lissandra, Lee Sin as a duo, very, very strong. I could see EDG playing something like that. Lee Sin or Annie as well. So there's one for OMG. I think in the outright matchup in the 2v2 into something like Ahri and Vi can be quite strong. And for OMG, I'm expecting either split bans or an additional ban maybe towards the Veigar, as that was what Jiejie played last game, and it did do pretty well.
Getting rid of a lot of these kind of engaged champions right now from the jungle side of things. I see the Wukong banned away as well, or let's say maybe the Veigar, the Gragas and the Malphite being banned away here by EDG. Kind of say, look, we want to see you try bring something up on that top side. You can see there big smiles on the side of OMG. Good respect. That is 5 top lane bans alone from EDG, wow. Let alone the Jason Fiora from OMG. That's 7 top lane bans in this series.
I'm just gonna say it. The Shy could never. Not 5. Not all 5. Shanji draws 5.
Ooh, those fighting words.
It's fighting words, but I'll say it. Look, as we look at R4 now, Shanji will have his work cut out for him, because it looks like it's going to be Sejuani plus Jax in the top side for EDG. So they've got strong team fighting, strong skirmish in the 2v2 on the top side. Now mid lane as well has the opportunity maybe for FoFo to go towards something like the Silas. I think OMG going to look at the Renata and lock that one in. I quite like it, to be honest with you. I think into the general dive and forward movement that EDG have now started to draft themselves into.
Do it.
It's quite a good look. Darius. Ooh, I mean,
come on. No, I knew it. I was like, maybe the Gnar would be fine, but no, gotta go for it. Yeah, look, you can even see him. He knew it. He knew what they were doing right there, baiting us all in, looking for that kind of setup. But it's gonna be the Sion back in here for Shanji in that top side. I will say should have a little bit of an easier time to be able to CS and kind of keep relevancy against the Jax. Melee into melee should be able to kind of trade that one back fairly decently. And the Renata I love as well, because you touched on it very briefly. You're going into so many champions that just want to try and jump on top of you, run into you, and be close range. The Renata just disengages all of that with the hostile takeover.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Veigar on the opposite side from EDG, whilst in isolation, a fairly good pick into the Ahri. Also has a fair amount of value also in dealing with Aphelios. He hates these big AoE zoning tool abilities, which make him have to, you know, really think twice about overstepping. But not only that, I think it's just strong AP and consistent scaling throughout the
adaptation that we've all been waiting for. See if 200 years or if a lovers duo is bigger and better than the either of the two. But jumping onto the Rift, it is even Stevens right now. If you're just joining us, it is 1-1 on the scoreboard. OMG get themselves onto the blue for the first time this series. We'll see if either of these teams can take an advantage in that all-important one last step towards getting themselves a date with JDG in the winners final.
2 more individual games until that winners final meet up with JDG as possible for either of these 2 teams. It's a best of 3 now. And you know, to go on your point about Zeri not being here, now that Zeri's not on the Rift, I feel like I don't hear the voices anymore. And that's a good thing, you know? I feel like many of us, we're getting a bit bored of it. But it has been traded out for Aphelios, so how far away? How far away are the voices really? You know?
The call is coming from inside the house. You thought you got rid of the BS, but it was in fact the OG BS with the Aphelios coming back to reclaim their throne. Yeah, it can feel like it sometimes that you end up kind of, you know, circles, I suppose. You know, as much as you the more we change, the more we stay the same. We'll see. Even Meiko looking for that very powerful level 1, but I feel like Abel and Ppgod should be very aware that this is going to be happening.
Right? Surely. They would never get caught out by a Rakan W at level 1.
Well, they did, because immediately we see the flash have to be used. I will say they get a fair bit of chunk back onto lead, but it's been equaled out, so summoner advantage already for EDG. I will say, in the grand scheme of things, not really going to mean that much of a difference until we start getting, you know, to level 3, but even then, the flash should be back up.
Yeah. Level 3, level 4, we'll see how much impact can be had with that flash gone. We saw in game number 1 the power of Xayah Rakan as a duo of the early levels. I think, generally, this is going to sound really weird because I'm about to compliment it in the same sentence. I think generally the 2v2 is a bit overrated, but it's still very strong, if that makes sense. Like, I think people consider it pretty much an unwinnable 2v2 in many senses, but it is still got its weaknesses. In this case, however, it's just good trading from EDG, and also adaptation I quite like here, and I don't really feel like I see it often, is Glacial and Rakan. Now, I think when you're talking about two immobile champions, if you knock up one, the slow ray is going to hit the other, but not only that, you also reduce the damage of the target that you hit. And that's another flash force. Meiko's really going hard.
Meiko will get punished on the backside of this one here, but got his mark. Again, flash for an AD carry versus a flash for a support is far more valuable. Aki gonna have to try and cover this bot side. So here comes Jiejie. They really want to try and force this one back. Abel and Ppgod neither have flash, neither have anywhere to go. He will not be wasting his cleanse. That's just really smart pathing here from EDG.
Yeah, and part of me, of course, I want to praise Jiejie and EDG for the punish, but surely Aki has to just come off the Krugs. He has to be just waiting in the tri-bush. You can see where the lane is. I think it's just a bit greedy looking for the camp, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on this side of the map, you can see how volatile the 2v2 already has been. As the replay is going to kick off all the way back here. Flash for flash. You always take that trade. Support flash for AD flash.
Kind of calls it, but then doesn't. Yeah.
It's such a bizarre thing. Like, the wave is still central. You have to just be guarding this, man. There's no other way for me to put it. I hate to be a harsh critic, but you have to just kind of give up your first clear when you see stuff like this going on. I'm not sure what the information was at level 1 either, in terms of where Sejuani was, but I think that's something you have to be considering as an opportunity. And now, that bottom side gank comes through, and the kill goes on to leave no less. So there's now going to be a lead in the bottom side, which EDG are happily going to leverage as well. Shanji. There's no mana on Arla, but he's got a biscuit, so maybe he can make a chase down happen.
He's trying his very best. Flash, flash!
Whoa!
Oh, one more W auto attack. That could have been a very different situation. Jiejie very happy knowing that his top lane's doing well. Can just sit in this bot side saying, look, yeah, I'm going to stay here. This is my camp spot. I don't give a damn. You're going to have to try and deal with a 3v2 for basically most of this early game.
Yeah, and I'm going to say the C word here. I think Arla cancelled it, the auto attack, as the flash came through. Because a lot of the time, you'll see a member flash away. I think Shanji might be dead here.
Yeah, no flash this time around. Look at the knock-up. Nope, never mind. Yeah, that time round, the Jax is able to get the kill. We'll get the wave crashed in, no problem at all from Shanji. But yeah, a bit greedy there, to be perfectly honest. Didn't fully confirm the recall had come in.
Yeah. Just a little bit greedy on the overstep. And Arla gets his first kill, solo kill in the top side. And we already mentioned how that's going to be a point of power. It's now engaged on the bottom side. Cancelled out!
Nice handshake, really well done there. Now Aki in this bot side, maybe thinking of a Q there, just try and get the flash in on top of Meiko. Will not have the damage to finish it off.
Look at Creme. Creme's here first.
Creme is roaming around, but FoFo not too far behind him either. Jiejie is still in the area with a Bonnie Cinder, so in that early rotation out, but already OMG trying to up the pace right now, recognizing that if they play standard, EDG are probably just going to own them.
Exactly. I mean, do we need a replay of the solo kill? To be fair, let's see. I mean,
wow, how did he not see him?
I'm I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure. The unfortunate scenario is that Shanji just uses cooldowns on the wave, right? If he's able to, like, you know, use the W as he's channeling up the Q here, maybe he gets the knockup and probably turns the kill around. And that's why Ahri goes for it now.
Ooh, okay, it's getting very weird. It's getting very dicey all of a sudden. We can see both teams getting very antsy. OMG come out with the dragon. It's Creme. Just land the charm, but not going to be able to kind of force anything else off of that. But while the reason that was able to happen was actually Shanji was roaming down the mini-map, so he's going to lose a huge amount of CS here. And Ala might actually get the blast code. If Ala takes the blast code over there, I think he forced out his ult. So really nicely done there by Shanji to recognize Ala's probably waiting in the brush for him. He doesn't let him kind of get that easy trade back for himself.
Yeah, exactly. Shanji, despite, you know, coming back up here late to that CS, he's even with Ala. So that feels fine. He's going to be down in XP for sure. And he ate the wave in mid lane. So this is one of the few times where, you know, sometimes in the LPL, I do feel like we get some very strange pictures. That's actually useful information.
That's a relevant one, yes.
That's a super relevant one. So that's what was going on whilst I believe the dragon was being scuffled over. So the trade is okay. And as you can see, now that we've got a click on, we had a click on Shanji very briefly. He's about even in XP. So it's not even the end of the world anymore.
No, it's just the gold, to be perfectly honest. Other than that, there's not really much of a difference. Ahri now with the cease and desist is coming up towards this top side. Still no flash on Ala, so if he goes aggressively with the leap strike, he could just be straight up dead. He's going to do it. Yep, he goes aggressive, and now he's going to be caught in a lot of trouble. Shanji going to try and maybe go for it. Needs to be very careful with how far forward he goes, but baits it out absolutely perfectly. Ahri returns the favor for his top laner. We get ourselves a 2-1 kill. Did he miss the cannon?
Ahri smited it to try and help the wave clear, but Shanji channeled the Q for too long, so he missed it.
I haven't heard you gasp like that in so long. It could have been the greatest outplay ever, or it could have been a cannon miss.
Look, man, the cannon miss, it's painful, you know. It's like, don't forget, cannons are like worth an entire wave in gold, right? It's like in the early stages,
actually, 90 gold.
63. Yeah, early stages like 63, then it scales up to 90 something. True. You know. It's a lot of gold to miss, man.
You know a lot about your minions. You were the one who told me that minions in mid lane are worth 1 less gold.
Did you? And you didn't know that? And the
I didn't know that because I only came in this year. I went into a deep dive. I went into a deep dive with the minion changes because I was like, that's so relevant. The 100 minions in the first 14 minions, 100 gold.
Yeah, man. And the cannons are worth 10 less gold. I can't remember the timers and when they start being valued.
Finesse 14 minutes. It's 14 with the it's 14 minutes.
See, now you're the studied one up.
I had to study, man. You exposed a gap in my knowledge, and I was like, what? Mid laner's getting finessed right now with these dealings.
Exactly, and I've got to say, Shanji's so bored now of the top lane matchup that he's role playing the jungler. Just goes at Jiejie jungle, steals away the raptors. I wonder if Jiejie is gonna pop up there and be like, huh? Why are these gone?
Wait a minute.
What happened?
I thought we saw Ahri bot lane.
Whoa.
I mean, it makes sense. You kind of, you know, the wave's in a really poor position, to be perfectly honest, for Shanji, so he's able to kind of, until he can get Ahri up here to reset it, it's going to be in a bad spot for him pretty much indefinitely. Jiejie will be spotted out here, so they know this is going on. Ppgod flashes away, but that was a Glacial Prison kind of committed here. Jiejie being aggressive on will have to flash himself. That's a flash for flash, so honestly, that's a pretty worth trade, if I'm being honest, for OMG. You're not really worried about Ppgod. You need Jiejie to be able to close the distance.
And I'll always say, and you'll hear support players echo the same sentiment, if you lose your flash, but you gain flash from basically any other position besides the opponent's support in most cases, you're okay with that. So, like you say, OMG's fine. Shanji, I mean, he's got the lumberjack skin on, right? So he likes being around trees and jungles and things like that, and he's continuing his escapades in farming jungle camps. He's letting Ala stack up this wave, and he just doesn't really want to get involved. We had a brief flash of the gold. I did miss it, but realistically, Ala's not going to be too far behind, at least going by the inventory of what's in the items right now. So it's quite Giga Chat, to be honest. Shanji's just role-playing as both.
He's just getting himself going and keep himself relevant in this top lane matchup. Gotta love to see it. We'll see Shelly getting her debut in this game on the bot side will be fully cleared out by Creme, so it's just going to be the one plate you would imagine. So not ideal, if I'm being totally honest. You would love to get at least minimum 2, but now Shanji, he's just going to be able to hold this wave away. Did he wish another cannon?
He missed another cannon.
-3.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but you know, sometimes you lose games, you know, and they're not losing the game, but mentally for Shanji, missing that many cannons has to do something to a man. That aside though, take a look at the bottom side now. EDG, they're on this dragon. They do have lane prior in first move, but the collapse is definitely very real, and the threat is there. Ahri and Creme can very easily lock down one member of Sion, so see whether or not they can get that done.
They have the
Dragon's
hostile takeover. Eventually coming out, they've moved themselves in now. There goes the event horizon as they try and jump in onto the backside here. Stolen away. Creme got it with the spell book. The hostile takeover is great. The Rakan is dead, and here comes Shanji, Ruben in with all the power of a freight train. FoFo, they'll still have flashes, still to be able to get away. It's actually a double kill to Renata because of the hostile takeover, and Shanji can TP back top, still collect this wave.
It's a disaster for EDG. That all comes up OMG from start to finish. Ahri gets rezzed with the bailout, and I never want to hear Everfrost hate on Ahri again because he just stole the dragon with it. Absolutely insane. EDG get kind of daylight robbery here, and they lose out on everything. Let's see. Or did he have smite through spellbook? No, he didn't. It
no, he didn't. He just straight up steals it.
Yeah. Q and F. I'm pretty sure it's just.
How? How?
And look at this hostile takeover as well. Hits 3. So EDG are just putting out no DPS at that point. A really, really good team fight for OMG. And they get everything that they could have asked for in that exchange.
Everything and more, to be perfectly honest. It does kind of stabilize the bot lane a little bit. Yes, we are still going into a gale force of leave, but now with the just getting the call finished up there for Abel, he should be able to get it back and finish off one of his own. So really nicely done there by OMG. And now they're 2 dragons up. It is still an Ocean Soul, not the most impactful in the game, but when you have a Sion, when you have a Vi, things that can sustain very nicely in this game, might have them go for some more, but maybe FoFo might be in a bit of trouble. Does have flash, so would be able to kind of bring it back forward. Doesn't bring him quite underneath the tower. Get the charm down, get the Everfrost in. They're going to go inside the cage, and the baby shall rage, as there's nothing the Veigar can do.
Exactly. Inside his own cage. A little yordle is. Great play from OMG. It's just a nice pick. I'm not going to get anything per se off the back of it unless they can maybe rotate down as a unit. They'll get a plate, so more additional gold. That's always going to go the good. That'll feel nice. And I think the ultimate as well is going to be back up from the side of Ahri by the time the Herald respawns. So all is well, and they just pick up. Real nice play. Now, EDG will trade out some gold on the bottom side of the map, but it's split between 2 members, the plate, so it's kind of a consolation prize at that point.
We'll wait to see. We'll say that the cooldown or the ability haste you get from Black Cleaver is kind of disgusting, because it has 2 ability haste items in it. It has the Caulfield's Warhammer and the Kindle Gem, so you get a disgusting amount.
Just for banter, a little bit of funnies in it. It just gets a random 10 extra haste once it's completed out of those components.
Well, it wouldn't have it any other way.
No,
What's the point of having an item if it doesn't give me all the stats
Shanji.
all the time? Yeah, I was going to say, he actually took the damage there a little bit. Not quite sure how.
I'm very surprised that Shanji did not press his Ahri when he got the Q slowdown, because 100% force out flash. I don't know.
A little knock up there, but there's going to be a red white, and they're going to be able to continue to fight. Hostile takeover is just that, hostile. That is OMG now finding picks, and this is starting to get a bit worrisome now for EDG. They're not too far behind in goal, but this is how OMG love to play. They're skirmish heavy. They love to put down the hurt and keep you off tempo.
Exactly. OMG will always play this game. It's what they were molded in. They grew up in summer, and they've matured into an excellent team who will make this a very disciplined, replayable scenario time and time again. So EDG really have to just kind of check themselves, slow the game down a bit to the best of their ability, and just ensure they're not overstepping, giving Ahri a reason to go forward, presses Ahri, as again, he just finds out another member with his art off cooldown.
And look, I'm sure there's plenty of people in chat right now talking about how it's, I'm gonna stop myself there, Meiko. They have to use the flash here. Is he? There is an ult. Okay, never mind. Yeah, Creme didn't have full information of where everybody else was going to be, but Ppgod's got 3 kills. And normally, I would totally agree with you. That's a memeable situation. Haha, very funny. However, I actually do believe getting that Shurelya's Revelry up and online as early as it is now just opens up so much more of this mid-game kind of tempo available to OMG. And yes, obviously, not gonna lie, you would much prefer to have it on the Aphelios or the Ahri or something like that. But having that extra team fight movement speed can be significant. And look, I'm gonna say it, you know, you get all, there's no kill steals in League of Legends, just kill secures.
No. Exactly. And I will also add, like, movement speed is generally, unless, again, like, you're always gonna feel a Hecarim running at you with 1,000 movement speed. He's gonna one-shot. But what you might not always feel, but is always gonna be present, is that extra 25, 30, 40% movement speed just for half a second. That's gonna make a difference, Aki.
You're gonna see the ghost being popped there by FoFo. Keep him in a pretty decent spot for the Summoner Spellbook, so moving himself away. But this is already seeing able to take a fair chunk of damage. See if there's any plants for him to be able to kind of work with. Creme dancing away here. Does get caught up a little bit by the sun and will flash away before the event horizon can come down. TP from top does mean that Allah is in the fight now. They haven't gotten rid of the vision in the back of the pit, so they know exactly what's going on here. Allah on a master flank. Ppgod knows it as well. No hostile takeover. 3 man gone. And can they find any more onto it? They're trying to just jump onto Allah. They've killed off the Vi. They've got the damage. Oh my god, that Moonlight Vigil was huge to try and keep this one in, but Shanji has nowhere left to go. There's no follow-up after it. I thought they could have turned it around, but it's EDG who get themselves 2 kills and the Dragon.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing here is that Shanji's just not in the front line. He's behind everybody. EDG just make the call to go and collapse on the 4. Even though Shanji eventually makes it to that front line fight, doesn't really matter because Allah's got that backline access. Great flank, great 3-man stun on the backline with no hostile takeover to stop that from happening. The fight that ensues is just nasty. It's a great pinch up, all in all, from EDG. And it all just comes from the fact that Shanji can't quite reposition in time. And as well, it's also to do with this chunk that Abel was playing into this fight with. Flash away from Creme, great engage at the very start. The hostile takeover is effectively just a bit redundant by the time it's cast. And here, Allah, Q into insta-flash, very hard to react to be honest. And Abel just has nowhere to go with no summoner spells. Does eventually get forced to reposition. And this Moonlight Vigil, it hits multiple members, but it's not a 3-item Aphelios hold. No. That's the thing. So it's not one-shotting all the squishies. It's just enough to deter a chase down. And EDG find themselves finally a fight back into this game.
We'll see the Rift Herald dropped into mid. I'll keep the game relatively equal as the Dragon did go over to EDG. Shanji now pushing up in this top side, doing a fair bit of work onto it himself, I must admit. We get ourselves back into a live game. Most of the first items being completed by everybody across the board. I will say Creme is loving this Banshees right now. Just loves the fact that he can go for something that gives him a little bit of extra survivability in potentially some of these fights. After just brute forcing his way forward.
I've been loving it though. I think in all the games he's done it, it's made sense, right? Like this game now, for example, Glacial Prison can't really be used once he has it picked up. He can also walk through a baby cage. Like it's a pretty okay pickup. Get again, and I can hear the cries. Where's the damage items? Oh, he doesn't need them. It's fine. Like, you know, just, oh. I think. Sorry to be distracted. I think Jiejie wanted to go for the wall with the Glasc. But yeah, either way,
it happens.
Got the Everfrost for the setup, and the Banshees are going to keep you alive against pretty key and top, like high value skills and abilities. So for a third game, I don't mind it at all. And we'll just see whether or not EDG can play around it. This game, I feel like they actually don't have too many tools to proc it. I think in previous games, they've had ways to remove it before a team fight happens, right? Shanji was very willing, time and time again, to just use his Rocket Belt in that direction so that Creme didn't have the Banshees for the initial engage. No tool like that in this game, so the Banshees does have even more value.
And he finishes it up, gets himself back onto that bot side. He should be able to kind of continue his bot lane presence. Do have a TP on Shanji, but none on to Creme. 2 minutes till the next Dragon. Rift Herald is live. Excuse me, not Rift Herald, Baron. We're at 20 minutes now at this stage of the game, but Baron is live. That could potentially be the next point of call for either of these teams. Ppgod does get stunned up a little bit. I think actually in much damage whatsoever. They're going to come straight in here with Shanji. The feathers come back, but he's already pretty damn tanky. Losing the Sion ultimate for the Xayah ultimate's pretty good because that means you can do stuff like this. And we're going to see, though, a lot of movement all the way back, and Ahri goes way too far forward.
It's not even Ahri's fault. He just presses R on Leave, who's already quite far back, but then he just flashes and Gale Forces and brings him to Narnia. Nothing they could do. That's an event horizon to Shanji. He's fine, though. I think EDG just going to disengage, but with no jungler. Baron potentially on the cast. Machine. That's a lot of poke damage.
It needs to be done as well, as FoFo almost taken out there by the back end of it.
Oh.
And the extra added damage, but OMG do lose another kill. Zaki goes a little bit too far forward, but again, they lost the flash off of Leave, and they've lost the ult as well, so I see Lee be a little bit more careful with his positioning as he doesn't have those key cooldowns for the next few minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Flash, big one. Still has cleanse. I think also one very minute detail that was maybe lost is I think the fact that Meiko knocked up Shanji whilst Leave was in the air. It stopped Shanji from channeling the Q as Leave comes back down. Which means that maybe, you know, cleanse can still be saved, or at the very least there's no immediate follow-up, which is pretty huge in the beginning of that play. But eventually makes OMG overextend in the long run, or specifically Ahri, unfortunately, get taken on a journey behind Leave. Dragon's up in 30 seconds, and with that flash being down now, as mentioned, Leave is going to have to reposition very carefully. I think just taking stock of the items real quick. 2 items available on both AD carries. Mid lane as well, 2 items on deck and ready. That's what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure it's the W knock up here, and it stops the Q from being channeled down. So maybe saves Leave his cleanse, as we're getting a T-Tour of this. Look how far he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone very far, but we got no time because now Leave in a lot of trouble. He's going to get clapped on by Creme. The hostile takeover is good. The cleanse comes out. Creme gets exhausted on the back end of this. Abel has to cleanse himself. Still has flash available should he need it. But the event horizons are just doing so much right now. The bailout's just going to do nothing. This Veigar gets a triple kill. Veigar gets a quadra kill. FoFo just explodes onto the map. And out of nowhere, EDG just get everything.
Wow. Wow. EDG just rolled them over. And I mean, for me, this is just a bit of a difference in not AD carry to AD carry, but in terms of what Leave has in the toolkit to just stop himself from being engaged on. Featherstorm is just so powerful here. Ahri, I think, went in again, but the ultimate just gets cancelled out. There's nothing you can do about it, and that was the choice made at B1 in this draft, right? It's always Xayah or Vi, and they went for the Vi, they go with the Xayah Rakan. And this time, it just makes it so difficult to dive in. And you'll see in the replay, I'm pretty sure Ahri casted his Ahri, if my memory's right, on Leave yet again, but it doesn't end up mattering.
No, it really doesn't. Watch FoFo. FoFo just gets ignored the entire time. They're all trying to jump onto Leave, and then FoFo just pops down his cage and says, cool, I can continue to put down damage because no one's touching me.
Yep, it's quite a frustrating game to play out from the perspective of OMG in these team fights. I think it's just because your engage can be nullified so easily, and if you try and go onto FoFo, then you're leaving the DPS up. And it's available via Leave. It's a tough choice. It's a tough choice to make. And not only that, very soon, I imagine there's going to be a stopwatch for FoFo or Zhonya's. And look at that in the inventory. There's a stopwatch as he goes towards Void Staff. So Ahri's role in this game becomes more difficult, a little more unclear, and other members have to try and force out those key tools before he can actually go for the lockdown. He can't really be the primary engage anymore.
No, that's literally it. And when you're talking about a Vi, that's all she does is engage. Now we're going to see Drelia's used as Abel just gets his Gale Force out. That is still a pretty tanky Shanji. Not tanky enough. It only has a no magic mantle, but that magic is starting to do overwhelming amounts of damage. 5,000 gold lead now, 10-5 in kills, 2 dragons apiece, but EDG in firm control after they took the Baron as well.
Yeah, absolutely. EDG just have complete control. They can do what they want. The baby cage as well can zone away everybody as they just take down this tower. They'll get the inhib if they so want it, and it looks like they do. OMG just have to throw a bit of a Hail Mary here, see what they can find. But the issue is, it can just never be on to Leave, and there's still a stopwatch on FoFo. So, you know, at that point you're like, well, okay, killing Jiejie is a bit too hard. He's very tanky. Let's go on Meiko, but then you get one-shot by everyone else. So there's just no real good choice here right now for OMG.
There really isn't. As we can see, a big TP coming in from Shanji, but they're going the opposite direction, my dude. See if they go for it. They now know that they're a bit separated in. Here we go. Choo-choo. Can they catch anybody out? The Karma's great onto Meiko. That's going to stop a lot of this counter-engage coming out. Creme trying to see if he can catch out Leave. Shanji here. Ala trying to see if he has got enough mana. He didn't have enough mana for the Leap Strike. He couldn't get back onto those two squishy targets. It is only a 1 for none. But OMG, they have to keep throwing those. They got to keep trying to get these proactive plays because they are just going to lose the game otherwise.
Yeah, they are. They have to just keep on looking for it. They have to just throw the kitchen sink at EDG here. And as for the perspective of EDG, they just need to be very respectful of any potential opportunity that OMG could find themselves having. And that's it. They can just steer this to a Game 3 victory, get themselves up to series point. Super simple game in my mind for them to navigate here.
TP from Ala.
Yeah, it was. It's that's a true top lane main TP. That's like, hey, I think I can get this no.
Yeah. Hang on. I've thought about it, and it wasn't the best of ideas coming into this one here. But I mean, look, we can kind of talk about all the different things that are happening in the game, but I'm worried that putting Shanji on Sion duty is not how OMG have been able to win games. It's not how they've been able to get to this position right now in this top 4. Having him just constantly getting low priority in the pick ban was not what got them here to the top 4. So I need to see them, if they do end up winning or losing this one, either way, they still get another game. They need to change that up. I need to see nearly first pick priority coming back into Shanji because he's just not getting the resources.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think even though EDG, admittedly did put 5 bans into the top lane pool, as well as pick their top at R3, something has to be done about that top lane priority, because I think right now, Shanji has just had 2 games where he's not looked particularly good on this Sion. And like you're mentioning, it's just not his core strength or identity even, really. He's capable, but this game has just not been it. Now that's an engage.
They're going in. Meiko has to flash away. They're not going to be able to kill him off. Aki goes gold in the hostile takeover to try and give some time. The Moonlight Vigil is okay, but not exceptional. Ala goes golden to try and keep him going. This is underneath the tower. Got 3 kills and nobody goes down from EDG. You can see they're just trying so desperately here as OMG, but no one's dying.
Yeah, OMG just barely don't have the damage to find anything. So many low health bars, but in the end, it's not going to matter. They're going to get their second inhibitor of this game. Are they going to look for the end? It's 5v2. The health bars are low, but they know Abel doesn't have big AoE guns, and they found him. Machine, he's gone.
He's dead. EDG starting to ramp up, starting to warm up into this series. They lost game number 1, but the last 2 have been all about them, all about the power that they can get from this top lane and move it around the map. We'll see Meiko go down, but it's all just a consolation prize as EDG move themselves to 2-1 in this series.
Clean game. Clean game this time around. I think OMG had their moments, but far less than game number 2. And EDG just kind of, to a point, muting OMG's options so well, whether it be via draft or it be via itemization in some cases towards the later stages of that game. The true engage option was just through Aki, was through the Vi, and his job to do that against Xayah, Veigar, and everything else really that EDG had just gets so difficult, and it does make me beg the question and kind of look back at that B1 priority for the Vi, because whenever you see this trade when Vi and Xayah are up, the often thing to do is just to go Xayah first pick. Because that way, even if you end up going against the Vi, you always have that one tool where you know it's just going to be a consistent thing of, okay, we're not going to have to deal with this. And we can go Wukong, who is arguably a stronger jungler, into Xayah, because you've got 2 opportunities to knock her up. And the first time, you'll knock her up, she'll probably R, and then you knock her up as she comes back down. This time around, when you've got the Vi, you don't get that same level of simplicity on the engages. I think actually Wukong might have been banned in this particular game, but either way, you get the idea. You never want to be the one on the side of the Vi matchup when Xayah's on the map. So I think a lot of the issues, at least that we saw from the perspective of OMG, could very well be cleaned up from the draft side of things, especially when we was talking about towards the end of that game, Shanji on the tanks. But I think for EDG, this is their best looking game by far and away. Obviously, again, the draft does help that out, but you could very clearly see the decision making a lot more sure in the sort of post 15, 20-minute world. And that was where OMG were besting them in the opening to this series. So definitely a big step up here for EDG.
Yeah, I mean, look, we saw a couple of games from the Sion so far in the playoffs. I think he's played 3 of them. Won 1, lost 2. In the regular season, we saw 6. He won 3, lost 3. So it's not what we see as synonymous with this guy in top lane. And I really do feel like EDG, on the other hand, are kind of saying, cool, we're going to prioritize Allah. We're going to make sure that all these bans go into top lane. You're going to have nothing to deal with. And then they're giving them a carry. Yes, they lost with the Fiora, but the Fiora did exceptionally well. Every single time we're looking towards this top lane, Shanji's down 30, 40, 50 CS by those 20, 25 minute marks. And it means that we're having item completions for Allah versus Shanji, who's working, you know, in a little bit of a secondhand shop. So it does feel like right now, OMG, I understand what you're trying to do, but you got to give Shanji something back here. You can't let this guy just keep taking these, you know, tank top lanes and be weak side, because that is your strong side.
Yeah, and, you know, again, it does make sense a lot of the times that this Sion has been locked in so far this series, but it's just not characteristic for OMG, or specifically for Shanji. And let's not mince words. Allah has been winning these side lane matchups, right? He has been on the upper hand. Yes, you can attribute it's in part to draft, yes, but if you give Shanji the opportunity to be a team fight threat, we know that's where EDG thrive, and it's not really been given to him yet, this opportunity to actually be that carry yet in a team fight, because he has been relegated to kind of trying to neutralize Allah effectively. So hopefully, for the sake of Shanji, for the sake of OMG, we do see that swap up come through in the draft side of things. I think for EDG, they just need to keep their head screwed on, because I think, you know, game 1, game 2, even with opposite results, right? Game 1 kind of getting outplayed on the macro sense of things in terms of OMG just making an amazing Baron call, but in game 2, a couple of mishaps, right, with positioning on the map against OMG where they get collapsed on. This time around, those mistakes both eliminated from game 1 and 2, and now they find themselves 2-1 up. So if the trajectory is upward for EDG, OMG have to reach even higher.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think for right now, EDG are just looking the better team. I think that's the best way to put it.